We found the place almost by accident. We turned off the highway, drove a few miles down a dusty road, then continued along a narrow dirt track where the pine trees stood so close together it felt like they were guarding the entrance to another world. I was driving. Mike Harper, a man who considers himself rational and practical right up until he sees a sign that says scenic route. In the passenger seat was my wife Laura, a literature teacher, a romantic with a scientific mindset, and a woman capable of talking to complete strangers as if they'd shared homeroom since third grade. In the back seat sat our 9-year-old daughter Emma, an expert in asking questions that cannot be answered briefly and rescuing every insect she encounters. Then the trees parted, and in front of us lay a small glass-clear lake. The surface was smooth as polished metal, reflecting the sky so perfectly it felt like the world had been flipped upside down. Near the shore sat a massive boulder the size of a small garage, gray, smooth, and cracked like old scars. Locals call it Whispering Rock. At the gas station near the turnoff, an older man with a name tag that read Ray told us, "If you place your hand on the rock at sunset and make a wish, the water goes still for a moment. It listens." Then he leaned closer and added, "But don't stay here at night. The rock doesn't whisper the same thing to everyone." He said it as casually as if he were warning us about soda prices. A little deeper in the woods stood a weather-worn marker. In memory of Clara Whitfield, 1927. No dates, no explanation. Laura immediately proposed a tragic love story. Emma asked if Clara had been a pirate. I wondered, if it's just a memorial, why is it 2 miles from the road? The rock stood at the water's edge like it was guarding the lake. When the wind stopped, the air around it grew unnaturally still. Naturally, we pitched our tent right there. Because the Harper family makes only sound, rational decisions. By noon, the sun had turned the air into hot gelatin. Pine sap smelled thick and sweet. The lake glittered blindingly bright. Dragonflies hovered over the surface, and the mosquitoes moved with the focused determination of seasoned professionals. We set up camp beneath a pine and pulled out our metal water bottle filled with ice-cold water, a family artifact Laura bought because the color matched the backpack, and which I later recognized as humanity's greatest technological achievement. Every sip cooled you from the inside like installing air conditioning in your throat. "If it gets any hotter, we'll just hug the bottle," I said. Laura was already hugging it. Emma asked if we could give it a name. The Great Culinary Catastrophe. We decided to cook stew on the camp stove and make fruit punch. Nothing suggested disaster. Laura reached for the salt, the bag slipped, salt cascaded directly into the punch. I lunged to save the drink, bumped the pot, punch poured into the stew. Emma tried to help, dropped the spoon. The spoon ceremoniously sank into the sweet, salty mixture. We stood over the pot in silence. The stew smelled like fruit dessert. The punch smelled like Sunday barbecue. The spoon smelled like betrayal. "Maybe this is a new trend," I suggested cautiously. "If we eat this and survive, we'll open a food truck," Laura said. "We can call it Salty Lemon Disaster," Emma added. We tasted it. It was like barbecue sauce and cherry lemonade had been forced into marriage. We survived on crackers and ice-cold water from the bottle, which once again proved it is the most reliable member of the family. After lunch, the heat pressed the camp flat against the earth. The air stopped moving. Even the birds went silent. Laura drove to the nearby gas station to buy more salt. She cannot simply buy salt. She must also learn the history of the town, the life story of the cashier, and the bus schedule from 1978. Emma went off to collect interesting rocks, and I stayed in the tent with my laptop pretending to read. 5 minutes later, I was reading reviews of the book and thinking about cold water. Outside, the grass crackled. Then, sure, sure. I thought, Laura's back. Then I realized I hadn't heard the engine. Something inside my stomach tightened. A cold thread pulled through my gut. My back broke into sweat. I lifted my head, and in the right tent opening appeared the head of a bear. Not symbolic, not hypothetical, real. Dark eyes, wet nose, heavy breathing. It looked at me like it was checking a reservation. My heart slammed into my throat. My ears rang. A cold line ran between my shoulder blades. My brain said, "We are going to die." My body said, "Let's try not today." I grabbed the metal bottle and swung as hard as I could. The sound was metallic, loud, wrong for the forest. The bear blinked. I blinked. Time blinked. It backed away. Still unsure whether I was alive, I grabbed the spoon and began hammering the bottle. Bang, bang, bang. Go away. Even. Laura returned about 40 minutes later with salt, ice, and the expression of someone who had just gained access to classified information. "Mike, you will not believe what's happening here." "Bear, everyone is looking for treasure." And just like that, the bear lost to treasure fever. She told us about the cashier. His name was Danny, or Donnie, definitely not Mike, and how for nearly a century people have come to the lake searching for hidden treasure. A prospector vanished. His camp was found intact, except for a metal box. Later, old tools, scraps of maps, and strange markings on rocks were discovered. Whispering Rock is believed to be a landmark. "They say people hear metal striking stone at night," she whispered. I looked silently at my metal bottle. "We had a bear," I said. Yes, hold on." Emma asked, "Is it pirate treasure?" Laura repeated the story 3 times, each version adding new details. Metal detectors, lights at night, old coins, a man living in a trailer because he's close. "We need a metal detector," she said thoughtfully. "I hit a bear with the bottle," I said. She looked at the bottle, then at me, then back at the bottle. "Okay," she said. "But if there's treasure—" I understood. The bear was a side quest. That night, treasure fever disappeared. The forest felt closer. The rock became a dark, human-shaped silhouette. We lay down. We did not sleep. A branch snapped. Leaves rustled. Something exhaled heavily. "Dad, is that the bear?" Emma whispered. "No," I whispered. "That's an environmental sound." Every noise became footsteps, every shadow a shape. Heat, then cold, my chest tight, my back damp. Suddenly, loud snorting outside the tent. We stopped breathing, then footsteps fading away. In the morning, we discovered it was a hedgehog, but during the night, it had been the end of the world. At dawn, mist drifted across the water. Whispering Rock glowed pink in the early light. Birds sang as if the world were perfect. We packed in silence. Emma stopped collecting rocks. Laura stopped talking about treasure. I stopped feeling heroic. When we reached the highway, I asked carefully, "So, we coming back someday to look for treasure?" Laura looked at me as if I had suggested living inside a volcano. "Never." Emma thought for a moment. "But what if it's real?" We drove on. Reason said, better to sit in the backyard, grill barbecue, and know the wildest creature nearby is a raccoon at the trash can. But somewhere deep inside, a small, foolish thought remained. What if there really is treasure there? And our metal water bottle now sits on the kitchen shelf like a family relic. Cooling system, musical instrument, bear negotiation device, and proof that sometimes the most useful piece of camping gear isn't a compass. It's a heavy insulated bottle full of ice-cold water. And if we ever return to Whispering Rock, and I suspect someday we will, we are definitely bringing it with us.